Have you ever used a pellet trap that looks something like this and want to make it a little bit quieter? You've got a better half that doesn't like the noise. If you use these inside, even if you use them outside, you might live on a 10,000 acre ranch, but if you live in a suburb or whatever and you don't want to annoy your neighbors, or maybe you just don't want the neighbors to know you're doing anything, there may be a way to quiet this down. Let's take a look at that. I moved over to my other desk to make this easier. This is my work table. If you haven't ever seen one of these things before, this is not for BBs. It's got a little disclaimer thing on the top. It comes with these nifty little refills. I don't know if this particular version is still available. It says Bone Collector on the side of it. It's made by Gammo. Gammo still makes one. It looks just like this, but it's not branded that I could see, at least not on Amazon. And these targets, you can buy them. They're not exactly cheap. They do make a generic target offered from Gammo that's a little cheaper than these. Or if you're on a budget, you cut a little piece of cardboard, stick that in here, and then use some of these stick-on targets. That's not what we're really here for today. We're here to kind of examine this thing. I got a couple of things I want to show you real quick. Okay, this comes apart, and this is where the pellets go. In theory, they run down through this little funnel and end up in this little catch basin down here. This is not for high-powered air rifles. You can see the back of this is, so that's supposed to be straight, and in reality I've kind of dented the back of it. I will straighten this, and it won't be too difficult to make this functional again. I don't really use this much anymore. I just want to help people that are in some kind of a location where you really need to or want to keep your noise levels down. Now that we know this is not for high-powered air rifles, we're going to go on to the next thing. This thing, when you hit this with a pellet, it's just like ringing a cowbell, if any of you know what those are. So we don't want that anymore. So what I'm going to test this with today is an extremely quiet Crossman 1701P. See if we can get that in there. Yeah. What good is it to have a really quiet air rifle if the target's noisy? I'm going to go set something up in the backyard. I'm right on the county line where I am, so I try not to annoy any of my neighbors. And it's just a courtesy thing. And I'll throw a chronograph on this. This is shooting at about just under 650, 640-ish. 640 to 650 we'll call it, and I'll throw a chronograph on it to show you that it really functions, because it's really quiet. It's very important to have a decent backstop, and that's going to depend on what you're shooting. Okay, I had to wait for the wind to lay down a little bit. It was blowing pretty good a little bit ago, and 177, I'm at 28 yards. They're not real good in the wind, although really what we're trying to do here is establish a baseline for noise, so it's not that big a deal. Well, let's try some Crossman Premier 7.9 green, and let's see what these things do. Almost don't have enough light by the time the wind quit, but you know, that's how it goes. Now, I've got the target mounted a little off to the side, simply because I wanted it to hit the edge and not the center. The target is a little quieter in the middle if you hit, because you're basically hitting the board in the back if you run it right down exactly in the center. But we want to know what it's going to do when it makes a off-center hit too, because those happen. 647. I'm going to edit all the pellet fumbling out, so you just hear a bunch of shots here in just a second. 649. 643. 647. 645. 640. 640. 643. 647. 649. 640. That was a big jump. I don't usually get big jumps like that. 641.
43.
Well, that's enough. That gives us an idea what we're listening to, and then I'll do my little rubber coating process on this, and tomorrow we'll repeat it from this same location, all the same conditions, and we'll see if it's any quieter. First off, I'm going to show you what I did. I used some of this stuff. It's a rubberized undercoating, and I sprayed that on the outside of the box. Now I'll show you the difference in this. This stuff's messy and it stinks. I'm going to get it out of the house really quick, but I want to show you this. The ring noise is gone. It's not silent, but the ringing noise is gone. It's just a dead thud. And I didn't paint any of this on the inside. Let me get this stinky thing out of here. I got a couple more things to say. This will dry. It takes it a couple of days. You can also put a top coat on it of enamel or something to seal it up. It's just to deaden the sound. There's a couple of other ways to do this. One of the products that some people use is called duct seal. This is a plastic kind of, almost like clay, but it doesn't dry out as much. It is pliable. This stuff works best if you shoot it at a 90-degree angle. And if you line a pellet trap with it, it's not a 90-degree angle, and you start to shear the stuff off. It creates, in my opinion, more of a maintenance issue. There's a couple of other ways to do what I just did. I sprayed the rubber undercoating on. There's a thing called constrained layer sound deadening. They use it in automobiles, and it's basically a thin layer of asphalt with aluminum foil on the back. And the principle of it is you've got your metal sheet is going to vibrate at a certain frequency, then your inner layer kind of wiggles and gives with that to dampen it a little bit, but it still has that same frequency. So if you put a piece of aluminum foil, you could use a tin can, spray this stuff on, and then put your foil on top of that. It's going to deaden it even more than what I just did, because both layers, both external layers or both metal layers, are not going to vibrate at the same frequency. So this is going to put vibration into the rubberized coating. The rubberized coating can't transmit it because it's a different frequency that the foil would vibrate at. That's a really good way to do it. There's a product on the market called Roadkill, and there are many generic variations of that, and that's all it is, a layer of thin asphalt with aluminum foil on the back. It's adhesive. You warm it up, it'll fold to the contours of this. I'm not going to use this target anymore. I was going to do the constrained layer to show you how it worked, but I'm really not going to use this target anymore. I'm just doing this to show you that you can make one of these things a little quieter than it came from the factory. I am going to build, I guess you could call it a silent pellet trap. Nothing is silent, but greatly reduced volume pellet trap, and I'll have that in another video. I'll show you what the results of this are. You can stuff rags in these things. There's all kinds of ways you can make these quieter. The rubber on the outside is the least maintenance, I think, of the other things. Put the Roadkill on it if you want really quiet. I'll show you how this works. And this is a decent level of noise reduction with minimal maintenance. Since this is my first video, kind of thought I might want to show you some of the other things I'm going to do, so you think about maybe subscribing. Here's one of the other guns I want to take a look at. The Umarex Notos. Gammo Coyote, it's in 177. The Notos is 2.2. And the Scout Epic. And this is going to be on the channel pretty soon. I got some stuff going on with this. And I've got a couple other scopes I want to review. So if any of those look interesting to you, let me know which ones you'd like to see. I also have a Marauder pistol, Marauder rifle that I did not win the barrel lottery with. And I can do a comparison on the P-Rod and the Notos if anybody's interested in that. That's stuff I got coming up in the future. So think about subscribing. On with this video. Okay, we're ready for a new string out here. Again, I'm going to speed the shots up. I'll edit out all my fumbling with the pellets and stuff, and keeping in mind the target's 28 yards away. I'm wearing a microphone. The camera, my phone, is over by the target, but it is connected wirelessly to this microphone.
649.
Sounded quieter to me.
649. 656.
Wow, I think that's an all-time high for this.
656.
Temperature is different today. Maybe that's it.
645. 654.
Never been in the 650s that I can remember.
652. 645.
645 to 643 is usually where I am with this.
643.
I had this sitting out in the sun for a little while before I started.
649.
Well, I do not hear nearly as much noise from this end. Let's go inside and wrap this up. So as you can see, this made that pellet trap significantly quieter. Not sure exactly how well it shows up on the video. I can see it in the waveform on the video. Recording devices have a tendency to try to normalize sounds, but it is significantly quieter. Listen, just getting started with this channel. I'm going to try to get 3 or 4 videos together before I make it public. So in theory, there's going to be a couple other videos show up over here, and hopefully I'll catch you in one of those. If not, I'll catch you down the road.